All right, we here. Listen, Keegan, how you doing, my guy?
Great, man. How you doing, bro?
Another episode of Rewrite Our Story, man. Now, I'm gonna say this. This is a particularly special episode for me. Probably one of the most special for me personally.
I got Kleenex.
We might need it. Listen, you acting different with that. Listen, that haircut different.
I know, right?
I'm gonna keep it a band.
Premier Grooming Lounge, 2 locations, 1 school.
I'm gonna tell you something. That haircut look good. It's great to see you looking good, my guy.
I appreciate that.
Good
man.
health and making money and glowing, my guy. That's what the girls say. You glow.
Let's slow the money down, though. Let's keep that on the wraps. Like,
you can't hide it.
put
You
me
look
on
like
Front
money
Street
right
right now. You
can't hide it right now. Listen, some things you can't hide. But this is a special episode for me, man. And I'm gonna tell you why, because it's historical too. Yes, it's a historical episode.
Okay.
And I'm gonna tell you why. And I want to introduce. You know, we got 2 guests on here today, but I want to introduce. Sorry, no, to Pops. I'm sorry about that. But you know, you got to give them flowers. Now, Keegan, you're my. You know, everybody talk about your friends, no new friends. Keegan, you're like my day 5. I love you, my boy.
Gotcha.
But you're my day 5.
That's cool.
Now, in the building, I have my absolute day 1.
Okay.
In the building with me, man, and me and this historical because she's the first female to be on the Deep Service podcast.
Amen.
Amen. That's historical right there. You know, because we built the structure to talk to men, but eventually now we have to hear from our queens and hear the perspective.
No question.
From there, we got to open up that dialogue because listen, our queens get us together. They get us together.
No question.
Absolutely.
Brains of the operation.
No question about it. Listen, they make a house a home.
No question.
Absolutely. They make oodles and noodles, macaroni.
Yeah.
They do. But you know, I gotta, Ebony, I want to talk about her for a second, man, because Ebony has been literally my best friend. It's no conjecture about that. It's not like like people have 50 best friends.
Yeah.
Nah. This is really, truly, Don. I love Don. He's my guy. But Ebony is my lifer. We in 11th grade. I never forget this. I don't know. We'll talk about it later how we met because it wasn't so fun about how we kind of found out we were cousins as well, best friend and cousins. But she used to come pick me up in 11th grade. I hated riding the bus.
So you used
me.
It seems like it. He has that characteristic, Ebony. Yeah, he does.
But you can always get something back. Now, here's the lesson right here. There's a difference between use and abuse. True. When you put when you abuse a privilege from somebody, they don't get anything out of it.
That's true.
And Keegan, we always talk about relationships and you all being able to extract things from I can get something you can get from me. We're using each other, but we're both benefiting.
No doubt.
And we got to understand that in business as black people on what we do when we start doing business, you're being used sometimes.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I want to benefit from you, but here's how you can benefit from me. Make it a quid pro quo when it comes to business and how we deal with each other. Because I think sometimes we've been in such an emotional roller coaster with what's happened to us in history that we don't sometimes, if somebody's using you, you're like, I don't want to deal with them. I don't want to deal with them, or you don't want to do nothing with them. But you got to realize everybody got an agenda at some point in your life, and we just got to grow up and realize that how can you benefit from their agenda too as well?
Yeah,
sir.
But back to Ebony. This has been somebody, that's been a confidant for me. Somebody that has. It don't matter if the chips fall. If it all goes down, Keegan, if everybody in the room walk out, I can promise you, I'm almost certain that she won't walk out of my life.
Absolutely.
In some way, shape, or form. So I want to introduce my best friend Ebony to the Deep Surface podcast.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Absolutely,
Welcome.
absolutely. How does it feel being the first woman on the Deep Surface podcast?
Well, honestly, the main reason I wanted to come was to set the record straight. You've had a lot of people on the show at the barbershop and you talk about, oh, this is my friend. It's one of my best friends. I wanted people to know I'm your best friend. Before Don, everybody else, I'm your best friend.
There you go.
The record has been set straight.
Done, period.
So now that's been set clear. This show in its entirety from the beginning stages has been phenomenal. I mean, just seeing black men be intelligent, versatile, well-dressed. You guys are awesome. So to be the first woman on this platform amongst extraordinary gentlemen, it says a lot. So I appreciate you guys.
No question.
Guys, for having me.
And it's more so our pleasure.
Yeah,
You gracing us with your presence, and any woman, any black woman that sits down with us is a privilege. Not the other way around. So let me clear that up.
That's fair.
Let me clear that up. And our other guests that we have, it's our featured guest too, as well, is Mr. Willie Kennedy. How you doing today, man?
Hey, man, it's just good to be here, Steve. And I've been watching the Deep Surface. I've been podcasting. It's been good, man. And it's an honor and a privilege for me to be here. I'm a little bit nervous, but I'm a little bit at the same time honored because, sometimes you see God doing some things in this world, and he's using black men. I'm looking for a solution, Steve. We know all the problems and all the victimism that we have in this world. But we can be victims, but we can't be victims all our lives with a victim mentality. And so it's good when I look at your podcast and hear men talking about positive things and solutions. I know we got problems, but I need a solution, Steve. We're part of a solution, and y'all are sitting down and talking to each other, and we're at home listening to what you're saying. And I'm not a football. I don't know. I'm a Dallas Cowboy fan and know nothing about.
Look at God. Look at God. Listen, I'm gonna get that flag. Listen, I didn't say it, guys. Don't get on me. I'm just saying this: when the spirit moves, it moves. And speaking of that,
I am not going to say anything. I'm not going to say anything. I'm going to let that ride. Y'all going to live today. I'm going to live today.
Hey,
but I was gonna, I was gonna say to Pastor Kennedy too, is where y'all can hear in that Tony, a pastor. But I wanted to introduce you to as well and let people know, not only Ebony's my best friend, but you became a father figure from afar from me. You're not a man of many words, and we have a whole lot of conversations, but every conversation we've had has been meaningful. And the biggest conversation we've had is your life.
Yes, sir.
Had a conversation with your life.
Yes, sir.
And I think that's important.
Okay.
Because your life speaks louder than words.
Yes, sir.
And that's the thing. Sometimes when you see people and you're watching them and you want to see what they're doing, and I've always had an admiration for older men because I didn't have a father. My father died when I was 6. So I needed something to look to. And you was one of those men that I was able to look to. And your life is the way you raised your daughter, and that became my friend. And when you talk about friend, when you talk about somebody being your friend, going back to Ebony, I can remember being in dark places. But where did Ebony get that thing from? You. Your beautiful wife right here.
Yeah.
So, and that all of that is and to go into kind of what I want to talk about a little bit is family. Because I wouldn't have, if you wouldn't have went to the things you went through, which we're going to hear in a little bit, I don't know if I would have had a best friend to help me through a lot of the situations that I needed. We're all connected.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
So I want to talk about family, the structure of family, man, let's start there. When you're dealing with family, I grew up in a big family. I was the baby. It was pros and cons being the baby of a family, King, and it was a Royal Rumble. I'm gonna be honest with you.
Really?
The baby, yes, absolutely. I had 3 brothers, a sister. When my sister went out to college, it was they let loose on me, Pastor. They let loose on me, and the kind of the pros of it. The cons was, I got bullied, I got beat up. I didn't get first dibs at everything. I didn't, But you know what I learned? I learned the value of creating value out of something that somebody didn't deem valuable. Hand-me-downs.
Yeah.
I started making them look good. I started learning how to dress. I didn't get all that we would have like food in the house. It was dog eat dog, I'm telling you. And they'll bring food home. And if you leave your food in that refrigerator, and I was the only one when that happened that got beat up. Because I couldn't beat nobody.
You're the smallest kid in the house.
So it was always risky for me to eat that chicken sandwich or to eat that Whopper. It was always not a good move to do that. So, I learned that, the value of understanding that, like, when you're in a crowded place, stay to yourself, get your own stuff. Even though I couldn't get my own stuff back then, I just learned a lot of valuable lessons through that. Now, with that being said, my brothers, Rodney, I want to give him a shout out too, because Rodney's working in corrections right now, which is the perfect thing for him. I want to tell a story because I got a question to ask you in a second. It was Bible study night, and we were supposed to be at church, and Mom said, "Get down to the church." So we didn't get down to the church. Obviously, boys being hard headed, we sitting at home, and wrestling was, I don't know if it was wrestling or it's something that came on Wednesday nights that we wanted to watch. We weren't supposed to be watching. We were supposed to be at Bible study. So Rodney would not go to Bible study, and I said, "I'm not leaving without you." And then he wouldn't go. So I said, "I'm going to tell Mama." He said, "You better not tell Mama." Next thing you know, I got punched in the back of my head, and we started fighting. I'm talking about we was fighting. Literally fighting. And, after the fight, and I'm telling the story for a reason, because after the fight, I realized how much I loved my brother, because I had no ill will towards him. We fought, got mad at each other. We did all of that. But a couple of hours, we went by, I was like, "What you doing? Go get me this." And it was right back to that. Keegan, I want to ask you a question, man. Why did God create family in the order that he did?
In the order that he did? That's a good question. Well, I think the first thing he wanted to establish was the visual of Christ in the church.
Absolutely.
And that was done between the man and the woman. He wanted that union to be set up first, so we know what that looks like. And then I think kids came next, because now we got to grow the family from that point on. So, be fruitful and multiply at that particular point. But I truly believe in the union of marriage, so I think that's why it was done in that order, was to make sure we can see the first representation of Christ in the church.
That's good.
Because when he comes back, he's coming for what? A bridegroom.
Absolutely.
And that's what I believe was done in that order for.
Ebony, and I want to go to you for a second, Ebony. What is the importance of family? Why is it so important?
For me, speaking from my experience, there's God. God is always the solid and the constant. But right after that is family. Everybody doesn't have the same experience, but no matter what walk of life I have endured, anything that I've ever been through, these two people right here, I know they're going to always be there. They're going to do whatever I need them to do, whatever it takes. And often without me even asking. I try to be the same thing for them in return. I try to be the same thing for my siblings, for my son. Anyone who knows me, they know that I love KJ ferociously. To mess
That's
with
an
KJ
understatement.
is, you ready to meet your maker. Yeah. Like that's just how I love, but I love that way because that's how I was loved. And family is what provides that for me. It's a safe haven. It's just a place of love and nurturing. And it's not that for everybody, like I said, but that's what it has been for me.
And that's kind of what it was intended to be. But that didn't come without any scars.
No.
Yeah.
It don't, and I think people don't how are you able to love above the scars, Pastor Kennedy? How can you love, family can be challenging. Let's unpack a little bit. Family can be challenging.
Oh, yes.
Okay.
I'm just going to, God, you tripping on this one. Because you cannot choose your family.
No.
You don't get to choose. You get married. So you choose your mate. Or whoever you're going to be with. That's it. So you get to choose that. But everything else after that, once you lock in and y'all start having kids, then you're a family.
Yeah.
It can be, how do you love above the scars of a family?
Well, Steve, this is the way I see family because of the way I was growed up. I growed up without a father, and I growed up living with aunts and grandmothers and whoever it was. And I always wanted a father. Just, I know you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, absolutely.
What's wrong with me? Those was the questions. And And as I growed older and become a man, I realized that life is full of seasons, and everything is a season. What we're in right now is a season. But one thing God gave us was family. Family is not a season. Whether you like them, whether you dislike them, whether you agree, whether you disagree,
God.
they're there.
Come
and
on.
something you realize that even when you don't have the best relationship with your family, down the road somewhere that family gonna come to be important in your life. And that's the thing that we can hold on. God gave us something that was sturdy, because even now we're in a different time that we're living in now than the time that I was with a young man. We're living in a time that I never thought could be possible, but it was a season, and God keeps opening our eyes. But everywhere that I go, I always have to reach back to my family, because what I found out, Steve, was that every boyfriend that my mother had was not my father. And sooner or later, he showed me he was not my father. You know what I'm saying? And so I began to, and I learned eventually that God was my father. And so it made me a better father. I made a commitment as a child that whenever I be, now this was a child voice now, right? Well, my dream was I was David.
Come on.
And the word was Goliath. And I was going to conquer the giant. And the giant was that I was not going to be the daddy that my father was. I wasn't going to be an alcoholic. I wasn't going to leave my wife and my children. I wasn't going to do the things that he did to me. So I was going to, it helped me be a better father, because, and not saying now, Steve, I became everything my daddy was.
We're gonna talk about that. And listen, we're gonna talk about that in a second. But I wanna ask you this question, Keegan. Does family teach you the art or skill of forgiveness? Because you have to.
Wow.
You got to. Listen, you got brothers and sisters. If you got people in the household with you in close proximity every single day, you have to pick up the art or the skill or learn the value of what forgiveness is.
Yeah, and I think that with that phrase, time heals all wounds, it becomes a really important phrase when you're in the household with people, right? Because sometimes you can't forgive, but over the course, like you said, about an hour or two later, you got your brother, hey, what's up? Go give me something. And you just fought, right? So I believe, it does help. It does help with you learning how to forgive, but forgetting is a different thing.
That's good.
Right? So you may not forget, so you may hold a grudge. Right? Like carrying luggage around. That's a different ball of wax.
So is that what kind of sibling rivalries come from? Because sibling rivalries can get pretty heated.
And last a long time.
They can.
Last a long time. I mean, I got some cousins who are siblings, who I look at as siblings right now, and they're in their 40s and 50s. They're still carrying around luggage. They have not unpacked and don't even want to talk about it. Right? So you don't forget. Now, forgive, they love each other to death. They walk in front of buses for each other. But there's those things inside that happen over the course of time where you're like, I remember when you did X, Y, Z.
Is your family meant to introduce you to trauma? Not in a intentional way. But your family, for the most part, either introduces you to trauma, shows you the way to trauma, or just displays it in front of your face. Because of the trauma that they have. And it's right there in your face. But it's the people you gotta love forever. You see how hard that is? Like it don't matter if you got a brother that's doing this, you got a sister that's doing this, you got a daddy that's doing this. They are still, at the end of the day, your family. Amen. How do you continue to deal with that? Ebony, is there limits to forgiveness when it comes to your family?
Limits? No, I don't think there's limits. And I don't think family is meant to introduce you to trauma, but I think they do.
Inadvertently.
Inadvertently. And I think the key to, making it or walking through that trauma is transparency, calling a thing a thing. This is what you did to me. This is how you made me feel about it. And being able to speak to that trauma. I think in a lot of families, especially, and I'm speaking to the Black society because that's what I know, we swept trauma under the rug. Yes. Your uncle touched you, but he still got to come to Thanksgiving. So grandma said we can't talk about that. They swept trauma under the rug, and I think transparency is the key to getting through trauma inside of your family.
Transparency is difficult. It's easy. It's easier said than done. It's really hard when that happened to you and it's swept under the rug to open up about it. Because see, the person that really needs to open up about it is uncle.
Yeah.
See, nobody ever talks to the uncle that did it. You know, we slide past him like your uncle did it, and we don't talk about him, but we focus all the attention on the victim, which you should. But what made the uncle do that?
Right.
We don't solve those problems. You talked about it earlier. Solutions. Because the real solution isn't us talking about the trauma all the time. The real solution is figuring out what in the uncle made him go that route. What was in him that made him go that route? But we don't touch it because it's too ugly.
But I'll say this, Steve, about what Emily said, because we don't have the tools. So you got to get professional help.
Mm-hmm.
But
That's
we
good.
don't want to
That's
do
good.
that. We don't want to. That's why we don't want to talk
Yes.
about it, because we got to get somebody from the outside to come in. And you know what we don't air dirty laundry, right? So keep it in the house, keep it in the family, but don't go about Uncle Tom.
Yes, sir.
Right? But I will say this about what Ebony said, which is powerful, is we're not meant to introduce each other to trauma, but we actually do it. But I would say family, though, is the best resource to help you deal with trauma.
That's good.
Because when you go out in the world, you're going to get it.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So you can leave family alone for that, because the world will give it to you in full doses. And so I think they're the best resource to help you deal with it when you go out in the world, because you're going to get it. You can't avoid trauma. You can't avoid tragedy. You can't avoid difficulty. But that's where family comes into place to help you deal with it, because that's the best resource to help you through it.
Absolutely.
And that's true. And the thing about when you go out into the world, I expect them to treat me that way.
Mm-hmm.
The problem when you get hurt by your family is you have full expectation that they have your best interest at heart.
No doubt.
Yes, sir.
That's the thing that severed a lot of families. And I want to go to you for a second, Pastor. What is the proper expectation to have of a family member? What is just anybody? Because everybody's still individuals. Everybody still, when your kids get grown, they got their own life. What are the proper expectations we should have for our family members? What does a healthy relationship look like with family members, that people that close to you? Because you got to measure everybody. Everybody ain't the same. You can't tell Sister Sue this, or Sister Jean that, or Brother Joe this, because you can't trust them with that secret. You know what I mean? You can't trust them with the money. So how do we do that?
And what I tell me and my wife had these discussions all the time. And what I've come to understand, Steve, is that we can't change anybody. No. And you have to get to the place within yourself that you got to know who you are.
Come on.
And when you know who you are, even though you may be acting like a nuthead, I'm just going to look over you because you my family. Yeah. I'm not even going to deal with that drama. You're going to know what I deal with and what I don't deal with. So like if I tell my family, I don't do arguments. I don't talk about people. I don't do those things because I know what it feels to be talked about. And I don't like it when I was talked about. So I don't do those things. So when my family having drama with me, I quickly tell them, look, I'm not into arguing with you because it's not going to change the situation. But if I can help you, I'm there for you. But you can be where you at. I'm good within myself. Steve, life is too short, brother, to
Very
take
much.
everybody else's drama and put it into your life. You know what I mean? So I'm trying to teach my family and my kids and myself, live your life. Let them be where they at. It's okay. Don't beat them up. Don't knock them. They got to get there. And you know how you get there, Steve? When they see your love. Man, it transforms. It changes.
Listen, we talking now.
Yeah, we are.
Man, listen, that was something else.
Yeah, man.
I don't even know what I was going to say after that. Just stop the podcast.
Yeah, man.
But it took a while to get there.
Yes, sir, it did.
See, and I don't want to romanticize it, because it was hard to get there. And I want to go into your story too now, because, to get to the place, at that snapshot at that place that you're at right now. Where did you grow up at, Mr. Kennedy?
Washington, D.C.
Really?
Then we moved to...
Hold on for a second. I didn't even know you grew up in Washington, D.C.
Don't talk about it, man.
That's why we do it. That's why. That's exactly
I didn't even know, but go ahead.
Yeah. I grew up in Washington, D.C., and when Dr. King was killed, I was living in the area where the street was burned and the looting and the raiding, and I was there. And so all I knew at the age of 6 years old is, excuse me, but that a white man killed Dr. King. Mm-hmm. I was living a happy life, Steve.
So you was oblivious?
Yes, oblivious to racism and black and white.
So was
we
that
knew
your
nothing
first
about it.
was that your
That
first
was my
introduction?
first introduction. And what happened to us was that we lost everything. And so we left DC and we started staying with my mother's boyfriend. Then we stayed with my grandmother. And that's when my life started transitioning to something else. I moved from a steady, confirmed family to everywhere.
Talk about confirm. Elaborate. We'll go back.
I ate every day.
Come on.
They loved me. They let me go play. They did those things.
Routines.
They took care of me. I
Routine.
knew this.
Gotcha.
I'm going to sleep at 8 o'clock. I'm getting up and eating breakfast.
Good.
It was
Structure.
routine.
You
know what I mean?
structure.
Yeah. So
Man,
they
that was
showed
good.
Me, yeah. And they showed me what that was. And so I was a happy kid, man. Even when they punished me, I was still happy because I had everything I needed. So, but then when I moved to family not giving you that. You now you a problem. You in the way. But in those days, not these days we live in there, but in those days, family took care of family regardless.
Come on.
Whether it was a struggle, whether they didn't want you, whether it didn't matter. They took care of each other because we believed in what goes on in this house stays in this house. That's how we growed up. You didn't tell, been like Keegan was saying. That's why we didn't go to psychiatrists because we knew that we don't tell our business.
Yes.
We don't let folks know what's going on. We
That's
keep
good.
it in the dark, but that was our jailhouse. We didn't know that at the
was the
time.
problem.
But that's why Uncle Charlie was doing certain things and Uncle Dan was doing and getting away with it because it was family business. You don't tell people that.
That is, man, that was a.
Yeah.
Yes, sir, and it hurt us.
That's good.
And nobody talk about this, but they were molesting boys too. They were molesting girls. They were doing it to everybody, and they're probably still doing it today. And that's the issues that we had to deal with moving from family member to family member to family member, and me myself as growing up in D.C. moving to South Carolina, man, that was a culture shock. I left McCormick walking to Greenwood.
And McCormick is about 24 miles, 25 miles, legitimate back roads to Greenwood. Absolutely.
Gotcha.
Yeah, man.
And I'll say too, man, like, when you go from family to family, and things like that, it has to be a confusion of identity.
Yes, sir.
1 minute you in this situation, and you got to think, and people got to realize this. He was a kid.
Yeah.
When you're a child, your ability to process is solely predicated on where your parents are and your environment. So that you don't have no other recourse. No. You ain't got no other experiences. Like when you're older now, I can't really trick you because you've had an experience.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Like you've been there before. Mm-hmm. You've walked that line. When you're 4 or 5 years old and you're unstable and you're getting all these things, then confusion starts to seep in.
Because you're also still developing.
Yes,
absolutely.
Emotionally, physically, psychologically. And that's why it's hard. You can stunt growth.
It's an interruption of your development.
Exactly.
So now you're in, for a child, it is a la-la land for them. So then in la-la lands, strongholds, whatever your spirituality is, you believe, demonic, things can start happening in that you can start getting confused about who you are. And what you stand for or what's going on in your life. And that happens. So you did that.
Yes, sir.
You moved to South Carolina. You was a young boy. Let me ask you this question. You mentioned your mother, but you didn't say anything about your father. Was he out the picture?
My father gave me $1 all his life.
Wow.
And he bragged about it for the next 10 years.
Four whole quarters.
Well, yes,
Four whole quarters.
Yes, sir.
Wow.
My father was not in my life, but I loved him.
Talk about that a little bit.
I loved him because I was a kid. I didn't know nothing about responsibility. I know he supposed to be there. I just know I loved him. And the little time that he did spend, he gave me about 4 quarters.
Wow.
And my father was an alcoholic. But I didn't understand that then, but I understand that now because I became the same thing that he was. Because his environment, his nature, and his nurture put him in that environment that he became what he was because he had no choice. That's what he became. He knew nothing about being a husband. He knew nothing about raising a child. He knew none of those things. And so my mother basically took care of me because my grandmother was a better nurturer and she was a better mother. Most of me come from my grandmother.
Gotcha.
And I don't really know my father's side. I'm a candidate, but I didn't get the opportunity to love with them, man, And so I'm just like a black sheep on my blood side. But my mother, she raised me. My mother loved, man. My mother. If you ever seen Lackawanna Blues,
Yes.
Yeah, that's my mother.
Gotcha.
My mother take anybody. You know, she don't care who he is, the dog, the cat. You know, that's it. She's been love all her life.
Yeah, exercise some Murkison.
And so,
Check
Steve,
that
I
movie
became my father eventually because struggling with the things that he didn't give me. My mother couldn't give me some things, Steve.
That's facts.
Okay, you know what I mean?
That's good. That's good.
She couldn't tell me what we was talking about earlier, how to talk to a girl. My dad had to tell me that. I needed that. So you know why I started drinking and drugging, Steve? Talk to a girl. I started drinking because when I drunk, I could, you know.
That drunk man don't tell no
liquid courage. That liquid courage.
That courage. Listen, that liquid courage is something different.
Yes, sir. And my nature got me because my daddy was addicted. So guess what happened to me?
You became
I became addicted. It was good to me. 1,000 not enough.
So tell me. So let's go back here. You grew up in that environment. You was an athlete too, right?
Yes, sir.
Pretty good one.
Superstar.
Listen, you can tell.
Yes, I was, Steve.
So you was an athlete. You played ball. You know, did you go to college when you played ball in college? No. So you didn't play ball in college.
Didn't go to college.
Get in your family, get married. Tell me, let's start talking about this. You know, where did you see your father show up? When did he start showing up in you? When did his nature that listen, unhealed trauma passes to your children. I'm going to say it again. The trauma you don't deal with, and unhealed trauma, passes to your children. It got to go somewhere.
Yes, sir.
Once it's ate you up, once it spit you out, if you don't deal with it, it's going to your children. That's the responsibility of the family, of a father and a mother. Not only you don't protect your children physically and from other people. We good at that. You ain't gonna listen. You ain't gonna touch a black woman kid.
You touch my baby.
Touch a black Their kid or their kids.
Yes, sir.
But spiritually, we was charged to protect them that way.
And Steve, that's a great question. Because guess what? My father didn't have a father.
Come on.
And so he didn't know how to be a father. His father didn't want him. And he didn't know how to be a father. And so when I became a man to be a father, guess what, Steve?
You did.
I didn't know how to be a father. I knew how to love. I knew how to love because I knew what I didn't get. So I made sure that what I didn't get, I was going to give it to mine.
That's good.
That's the thing that got me over what I didn't get. What I didn't get because it didn't make me weaker, it made me stronger, Steve. That's what it did. I didn't know it at the time because, see, that's always been an issue with me, why my father would not be a father to me. And so I went pursuing other men. Like I told you earlier, and then other men will not be your father, okay? But my father was my stepfather. Finally, when I was 9 years old, my stepfather came into life, and he took me on as a son, and he taught me. He taught me how to run. He taught me that's why I was a great athlete. My father grabbed me by the hand and ran with me. He made sure he didn't play. You gonna be a superstar, or you ain't gonna play at all.
Right? No in between.
Ain't no in between.
Yeah.
We don't do participation.
No trophies.
Yes,
None of that.
And that's the way he was. He was always there. I knew he was going to be there. I don't care. So if he fussed at me, Steve, I wasn't mad. I cried a little bit, but I wasn't mad because I knew he loved me. And I look back over my life, and my stepfather, who God gave me to be my father.
Come on.
Not the one I was born to, but he became my father, and he raised me, and then he died. So guess what I did, Steve?
Man.
I go back to what I know, drinking and drugging.
That is...
Yeah.
Your father didn't know how to be a father. But the interesting component about this is, he's only going to let it go for so many generations.
Amen.
See, even your sin don't have that big of a reach to God. No. Because it stopped at you.
Yes, sir.
Although God ain't magic, you didn't have the tools to stop what you were going to do in the physical. But then the spiritual, he gave you something that your other fathers didn't have, the capacity to love.
Mm-hmm. Sir.
Do not skip past that.
Yes, sir.
When you get the capacity to love, that is a telltale sign that you're stopping a generational curse.
Well, he also had a source of love as his mother.
Yes, sir.
That's good.
Your grandmother,
Yes,
right?
yes,
so
he
gave you a source to
did.
help you with that.
That's good.
Yeah, he gave you a source for that.
Yes,
but you don't know you just helped me with something.
Come on.
But I don't want to interrupt the story. But I'll tell her later. But you just helped me with something
Yes,
that I've been struggling with.
So and that's good, Keegan, because we're gonna keep ain't we talking? Miss Canada, ain't we talking? Man, we talking right now. Yeah, listen, Tim, ain't we talking? You ain't gonna say nothing. He want his money at the I'm gonna keep saying it every podcast. Well, listen. When did you start drinking?
I started drinking. You know, back in the day, they had the house party.
Ooh.
I was a little slave. You know, don't give me a bill. Yeah, okay. Since I'm getting bills, you know.
Give me one too, right?
Yes,
Sure.
And Steve, believe this: my first beer, I passed out. I was already from the first one.
He ain't get the side. He ain't get the side. That was God saying right now. Chill, bro.
You should have stopped. Listen,
I should've stopped
we're
right
not gonna
there.
skip past this.
Yeah.
This is listen. You should have stopped there.
I should have stopped
You
there.
should have listened to God's voice
No question. No question.
when you passed over a
My
bit.
first beer, yes, sir.
So when you let me go back for a second. What led you to? When did you? Was there a decision? Did you say forget this? Was it the fact that once your stepfather died, were you drinking before
I
then?
was drinking before then. Oh yeah.
Was the trauma for your father not being there was the reason because at a young age you started drinking the way you did?
But drinking really wasn't my problem, Steve.
Go ahead.
Drugs were my problem.
Ooh.
I'm not a drinker. I ain't never drunk a half a pint all my life. I can't drink. As I told
Oh,
you.
yeah. One beer, put him down.
Yes, sir.
That's a fact.
And I never liked being out of control.
Yeah.
And so I had to find something because, like I said, instead of having a father, this is the point of a father. A father sit down and tell a son, this is how, as Keegan was telling me earlier about this, that's good, man. That's what a dad does, man. He tell a son, man, look, son, go get her, boy. Go tell her. You don't have that. If you missed that somewhere, I looked around at what other people did. That's what I did. I became a copier. And I copied what they did. But what they were doing, Steve, was not good stuff. And that's why I had to tell my wife, it took me years, a decade to unlearn how to be a faithful man to my wife 100% because I had been taught that it's a poor dog don't have another hole to run to. I was raised like that. That's how men raise other men. Not that they said it, Steve, but that's what we saw.
It was implied.
Yeah. Those in church had other houses. Those who were supposed to be the honorable men, they were doing other things. So they became they were my men. I watched other men. And that's important. Men don't realize that somebody's watching you all the time. Some kid watching you and hoping you get it right because it gives them a chance to get it right. And so
That's
I was
good.
watching other
That's
men.
good.
And so I did what they did. They was drinking. I drank. They were smoking. And the first time I started smoking, and I was still good. I was good.
You was good. Okay.
I was good. But then, I ran into the wrong drug. Crack.
Oh,
Crack came on
Lord.
the scene.
Crack. How
fell
did you
in
get
love.
introduced to crack?
Fell in love first hit. I stopped drinking. I stopped smoking weed. I stopped smoking everything.
They say crack, once you do it the first time,
Never do it.
it's the highest
Crack and heroin. Crack and heroin.
Never do it, man. That's the only way to get free from that is never do it because it haunts you the rest of your life. And yes, and once I picked up crack, Steve, it was over. My life was over. I lost everything.
So were you married when you started doing
I've
crack?
been married all my life, man.
Come on now. Come on now.
I've been married since I was 20, 21.
21
I'm
years
62
old.
now.
How long y'all been together?
And we've been together for 47 years.
What? That is a clap.
So
47 years.
yeah.
I haven't been living that long.
Real talk. Me neither.
And Miss Kennedy
Me
lived
neither.
30, all the 30. All the 30 over there.
I ain't gonna front.
Listen.
I thought Ebony's sister when I first walked in. I ain't gonna say a lie. I ain't gonna say a lie.
And Steve, why? Because I was looking for what my mama didn't have. I was looking for one woman that loved me. And when I met her, I didn't need nobody else. Now that didn't stop. Now let's be real. I didn't stop with her because I went all over the world, been a Marine, doing all them things. But I loved only her, still to this very day. I've never loved another woman because she loved me back. That's what I was looking for the whole time, Steve, love. Just looking for love, man. That's simply looking for love because everybody else's love was fake and phony. And it was not real. And sooner or later, they showed it. But she like you said, she loved me like my mama loved me. You know what I mean?
And let's define love. It's acceptance.
Yes, sir.
You want somebody to look at you and accept your ugly self.
Yes, sir.
I ain't talking about on the outside
Yes, sir.
either.
Yes, sir.
I'm talking about your all them insecurities you had,
whole you.
all that stuff you
whole
had
you.
going on, all the transgressions you had against her.
Yes, sir.
And I don't glorify any of that. But men, and we got to say this, we demonize men a lot. But when you do not have an example,
Yes, sir.
there is no other recourse but to wreck stuff. There's no other recourse. You ain't got no other recourse. You gonna keep wrecking it and keep wrecking it. And some, it may not be in the way that you did it, but you're gonna keep wrecking it. But everybody needs acceptance. And when you don't, again, going back to the structure, family, when you don't, your family structure was broke down. The father was removed from the home. Do we see how important it is having a father in a room? Because you turn ultimately to the thing, the demon. You got in bed with the demon that still, we're going to talk about it now. You don't get out of bed with that demon. You deal with that thorn. Because at any day,
yes, sir,
it can happen. So you get on crack. You on crack. And that we like it. In the hood, that's a word, crackhead and things like that. And you know, it's said it's a colloquial, it's a joke, and and you don't, people don't come back from crack. Yeah, it's hard to come back from that. You get on crack. What does that do? We talked about the importance of your family, 47 years, and she's still sitting over there.
Yes, sir. And Steve, I would ask, would no family had to go through that, what she went through? No one. The only reason she's still here, Steve, because we learned to love each other, become friends, and she knew me. She knew the demon, the monster that had become. She knew that under the level, deeper than that was me. I was still there. And that's the thing that kept her. When everybody else stole me away, she loved me. But she just put me out. and until she put me out, my life didn't change.
Come on.
When she finally said, baby, I love you, but you got to go. She didn't say just go. She said, baby, I love you. Man, that was the biggest words ever I heard in my life, Steve. For one minute, I had a clarity. I'm gonna be by myself.
So it damaged your family. Being on crack damaged your family. And I want to go. I'm gonna come out to you, but I want to go to Ebony for a second because it's your oldest daughter.
Yes.
Listen, let me tell you something. Her dad is the apple of her eye, and I'm saying that for a reason. Listen. You cannot tell Ebony anything about her dad. You know what I mean? Despite all the problems, he was still. Again, when I talked about that component, God will always give you a weapon in the war.
No question.
Yours was love. Yes, sir. And it went to your daughter. But there was a moment. Where was the moment where your Superman found his kryptonite in your eyes? Because, and I wanted to hear it from you because you were there and you're the daughter and you love him and you adored him. What did the crack do to your dad? And how did it affect your family and affect you?
You used the right word, Superman. That's just how I've always viewed my daddy to this very moment. And if there was a moment I could pinpoint, let me say this. So we talked about trauma and how family can inadvertently,
produce that trauma.
That trauma. What has allowed trauma to be minimized or to not, those holes to be filled in my life was the triumph.
Come on.
That's seeing good. How he fought those demons, and because addiction is a disease.
It is.
It's not a choice. But he fought them for family. When my daddy finally became clean, my mom was in the hospital having my last sibling. And so now for 20 years, he's been clean, and we've had this strong family unit. So what has allowed the holes of trauma to be filled is the triumph. And what created the triumph for me is the love that he talks about. But if there was a moment I could pinpoint, my daddy had a gold chain, and he let me wear it. He let me wear his gold chain, so I felt special because I had on my daddy's gold chain. And it was one of those situations where, in the community of addiction, you have relapses. You clean for a period of time and you relapse. And so there was telltale signs, but you can have a functioning addict. So, I guess it was a stage of being a functioning addict. And he asked for his chain back. And it broke my heart because he asked for it back to wear it, but I knew it wasn't to wear it. I knew, it was going to be at the pawn shop or something, or something like that.
He was definitely selling that.
So in that moment, it was just like, he didn't take the gold chain. He just took a piece of me in that moment.
Come on.
But going back to what I said before, it's the transparency. I can have this conversation, and this is not an unfamiliar conversation. Not the first time he's
Absolutely.
heard that. The things that he's mentioned about his life, it's not the first time I've heard that. My siblings, who all they know is the sober version of my father, they've heard these things, so we talk about it. My daddy doesn't pretend to be anything other than what and who he is, what his experiences have allowed him to be, and so it just allows me to continue to see him in that light of Superman. Yeah. Because every time Superman is defeated by kryptonite, he come back from it.
Yep.
And he, a bird, a plane, Superman. You know what I'm saying? So that's who my daddy is. And I know they say, once the addict, always the addict. But in my eyes, God has healed him. I don't see an addict. I don't see any of that. I just see this dynamic.
You're working on a clap right now.
Phenomenal man. And when he opens his mouth, I'm like I listen.
Yeah.
I listen, and I want to hear what he has to say, because I know that whatever he's saying to me is coming from a place of love, dedication, and devotion to being my dad. Him not growing up with the dad is a foreign thought to me, because he's been such a phenomenal man to me. It's hard to fathom that he didn't know how to be a dad, because he did such a great job.
Look what, and this is a chain breaker too, because think about it. You have a girl in the 2021 celebrating her father.
And I'm also a Dallas fan.
You better.
It's gonna be a long ride home for me. Man.
But
hold on, Miss Kennedy, you're not a Dallas Cowboys. Thank God. I got one.
Tim was a Dallas Cowboy fan.
Oh my God.
Nah, Tim was a Seahawks fan. I remember Tim was at my house. And the Patriots and the Seahawks, when Russell Wilson threw that. It was so bad.
Oh yeah, he was tight. He was tight.
Yo, he walked right out the door. But anyway, to see a daughter celebrating her father, and it makes me think I wanna be that. Now, let's go back to it. You get clean for a little bit, right? So you're on crack, but then there's just something that happened. This is heavy. This is heavy. I don't want to, misrepresent the moment at all, or be insensitive. But, there was an event that happened. This is how me and Ebony found out that we were cousins. You had a child that passed away at a young age. Take me through, that moment for you. How long were you clean during that time?
5 years.
You was clean 5. So you thought you had it under control.
Yeah. Pretty much.
You thought you was
I was cured.
Because 5 years is a long time.
Yeah.
It's a long time. So that situation happens. Walk me through that situation if you don't mind.
And Steve, the situation, this looking back.
Okay.
But during the time when it happened, my son was 9 years old.
Wow.
And I was preaching, and I was, we're living a good life. And God gave me a son. And for me, I don't know, because saying coming up without a father, to have a son, man, and I knew I'm going to be a good daddy to this boy.
Yeah, because Ebony was cool.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
She was straight.
Yes, sir.
She'll do.
Yeah. She can ride the pass. She can run the football, right? Okay.
She okay.
Yes, sir. And
Ebony
and him was always with me. I can't sing. And so they were my choir. She was my choir. And so,
you ain't go very far with that one.
And he was, Steve,
I'm just playing.
people got saved because of this 9-year-old young man. He knew God in a real way. Now, I knew God, and I was religious. But let me help you say something. I was religious. So I didn't understand. I thought I understood.
Come on.
And so when my son died, I did the religious thing. I put on the face. I said, man, I'm going to stand here, and they're going to see I got good faith, and I ain't going to cry. I'm just going to be a big man about it, a godly man about it, and know he's with God. But, Steve, that didn't last. And so eventually I cursed God and asked him why. And I turned against God and the church on purpose. And the worst 5 years of my life. After that, I went down. And so after losing my son, I'm love, Steve. I love. That's who I am. I finally figured out who I am later on in life, I love people. I always have. That's what God gave me. That's what He made me here. I love people. I can look past folks' faults, and I can look past. I love people, and so now I done lost my man child. Man, it destroyed me, Steve, and it's a miracle that me and my wife still together. Cause let me tell you something: when you lose a child, it's hard for the two to.
That's unimaginable. I mean, I'm sitting here listening, and I've heard the story, and I know about it before I got here. And even when you said it, I trembled because I have kids, and now my kids are to the age I can interact with them. I could not imagine going home tonight and something. I couldn't even know. I couldn't even tell you what I would do the next day. Walk me through just those 5 years and kind of what it was like during that time period for you and your family.
I'm gonna tell you what it's like for me. I don't know. It was a horrible nightmare for my family. I was trying to kill myself, Steve, but too coward enough to pull the trigger.
Really?
I wanted to die. I was doing everything I could. I kept waking up. I kept running out of money. Kept waking up. You
couldn't even die right.
I've said that a few times. I can't even. Steve, I actually went to some young guys who had guns, and I said every word they could. I pushed them. I kicked them. I did everything I could for these boys to kill me. And you know what? They walked away. They said, this boy crazy. And they would not kill me. I said, I can't even get killed. You know, man.
You can't even get shot by the gun.
Hey man, God would not let it happen.
That's the thing.
He would not let it happen.
The covering was there.
Yes, sir.
And you can't outrun his covering.
No,
you can't.
I tried every best I could. I just would not. I couldn't afford a gun to kill myself. Wasn't nobody gonna give me one because I gonna pawn it. So you know, that was my life.
Oh, you was a crackhead.
Yes, sir, brother. I was a real deal. I don't drink. I don't drink Mountain Dew. I smoke crack. I was a crackhead. So and Ebony used to tell me that kids used to call me, your dad is a crackhead. And I had a conversation with my wife. Tell them, yes, he is. Don't deny that what I am. I am. I'm a crackhead. That's what I am. Don't you hurt for me. Tell them I'm a crackhead.
Good. Ebony, how did you feel when that was happening?
The only thing I can think or remember was just me denying it. Like, not my daddy. I don't know who you saw. That wasn't my daddy.
You know your daddy was the dude on Friday.
That's a black woman right there. That's a black woman right there. Not my daddy.
That's some real love right there.
It is.
It goes back, and then that goes back to family. Listen, those family protection. See, that's how we supposed to protect our family.
Yeah.
When they in that mess, but you don't deny. Like you said, I am a crackhead.
Yes, sir.
Uncle Joe is a pedophile.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
You know what I mean?
But to Ebony's point earlier is that understand this: addiction is a disease.
Mm-hmm.
Come on, Keegan.
It's not a choice. We got to stop acting like it is. And we call somebody a crackhead, you think they choose to be a crackhead.
Right.
No, it's a disease. You got to treat it as such. Now, we see today, they know how to do it with certain drugs, right? So you go in that medicine cabinet, you got a disease. But you go on the street and buy it, no, you just a crackhead.
Mm-hmm. That is
right. So it is a disease.
Good.
Mm-hmm. And we got to look at it from that perspective because you can never get rid of it.
Yes, sir.
I got addicts in my family, alcoholism, and some are on crack as well. You don't, 20 years, 30 years clean, it never goes away. So it's a fight every day.
Yes, sir.
So I commend you. Even in a relapse, you get back up. I commend you. And I would say that you said God gives everybody a weapon in the war. The grace he gave you,
come on.
I commend.
That's good.
It's
that is good.
You don't see that every day.
You don't. 47.
You don't see that every day.
You don't. People listen, and let's be honest. And let's not, and we talked about it earlier, let's not validate toxic behavior and say it's okay for our young girls coming up.
No. But understanding that the behavior that you displayed was not by choice.
Come on.
You're not going to robbing stores and killing people, right? When you get that thing in you, I've seen it firsthand as well. When you get it in you, it's no longer you.
Yes,
that's why she had grace.
Yes,
she knew it wasn't Mr. Kennedy.
So
right?
That's good. So that's why grace needs to abound. So that at all, this is what we are. This is why we tell stories here. This is why we do what we do. Folks are going, and I like to tell heroism because the heroism ain't you always, because that's always going to probably be a thorn in your side.
Yes.
Of course. Yes, sir. And thank God. And I like Keegan reminds me because that's when the process really started for me. When I found out it was disease, I was like, "Oh man!"
And then
I'm like,
right?
That was the process So let's talk about that. That was the process to recovery.
Yeah, so when I finally heard recovery and they told me it wasn't a disease, let me tell you how God worked. Can I be real for a minute?
Absolutely. That's why we're here.
I've been in 9 treatment centers, and I went to 11 if it was necessary.
Come on.
And let me tell you how God works. I'm just gonna.
It's your show. It's your show.
I was raised there where women don't preach.
Come on.
Okay, I don't believe that now. Okay, I know better, but women don't preach, and so God put me in a place. I had a psychiatrist. We don't go to psychiatrists. None of these things. Okay, so God put me in a room with a woman, psychiatrist, and she peeped me. She was talking. I don't know what I had, a look on my face or something, and she looked at me in my eyes, and she said, "You don't believe in women preachers, do you?"
Ooh.
And only God could have told her that because I didn't say a word. And my life changed from that moment. I've cried like a baby. I opened up and I told her she was right. And what it did for me, Steve, was the first time in my life I saw the truth. I saw that the world is not my problem. I don't need drugs to fix the world. I am my 1% problem. It's me. And she saved my life by just breaking into me. And what it told me was that God is looking out for you, boy. This woman don't know you from nobody, and she just told you your story. And when my life began to change from that moment on to this very present time, I remember that lady, and that made me dig deeper in the Bible. Because I said, God, you couldn't have used her for just to use her. You choosing her for me to study deeper. And then when I read, the Bible said that your women going to prophesy. That's the word mean preach. And in the time he going to come after when salvation come, your women going to preach. The male lineage has, God steps in and shows you that grace provides and love kicks in. Whatever God needs to get his world, us back to him, that's what he's going to do, Steve. It does not matter. It's not about male, female, Jew, or Gentile. It's none of that. It's about that. Brother, if you show me love, love can conquer multitude. It really does, man. Like, for instance, I give brothers who still on crack and stuff, here you go. I know what they're going to do. So what? You know what it did for me? One brother gave me $20. I was sitting on the road begging all day long just to get a hit, and nobody would do anything for me. He gave me my respect back. He said, hey, brother, you ain't got to ask nobody. Here, take this. Get what you want.
You said respect. That's
he
gave
me my respect back.
And that's big. Because, see, people don't realize when you're on drugs or you're going through something, you, especially as men, I want to respect. I want my wife, she can love me. That's cool. I'm cool with that. I want respect.
Yes, sir.
And when you lose your dignity as a man, because the first thing God gave man was work.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
He gave you work.
Yes, sir.
When your man goes to work, I don't care what he doing. It's just a pride thing for men. You get to go to work and provide.
Yes, sir.
And you were on the street begging.
Yes, sir.
And a man gave you back your respect.
Yes, sir. And it turned me around, Steve. I went home. Knocked on my mother's door because she wouldn't let me in. My mama wouldn't let me in.
You had to earn that. You had to earn that back.
Yes, sir.
Nah.
But they saved me because I was out there on my own. And that's what people don't realize. Quit babying the addict. Let them go be on their own for a while so they can look at. And I saw myself.
That's good.
And when I saw myself, I saw one bum walking down the street and he had nowhere to lay his head. And I saw a man driving down a car with a nice car. He had a nice cut. And I was the bum finna have nowhere to lay my head. And it woke me up, man. I said, man, I made my mind. I said, I'm going uptown. I'm going to smack the chief of police. He going to lock me up. Or I'm going somewhere to sit down and get my head back together. And by the grace of God, I went to the last treatment center, Faith Home in Greenwood, South Carolina. And I found God in a real way. And what I mean by that, I studied for myself.
That's good.
I didn't listen to what everybody else was telling me because they was telling me, put me under laws when I'm under grace. And
Amen.
They was putting me under who better than when it was none of that. It's the mercy of God.
That's good.
And so when I found that, Steve, and I got to say this before I leave.
No, you got to keep talking.
When I found the kingdom, brother, let me tell you something. I found that it's not about religion. It's about a kingdom. And people don't understand that it's a kingdom. It's about, God calls us to take over the world. And we take over the world, what we was talking about earlier, that each one of us are gifted in our different places. We don't hate each other for that. We help each other for that. And because when we take over the world, I need you to be there. I need somebody to be rich. I need somebody to be poor. I need somebody to be in the middle. I need somebody in politics. We need somebody everywhere. I want to be good at what I do. So, Steve, that's why I don't know nothing about sports. I'm a preacher. That's all I do. I dig. I want to be able to answer anybody. When the brothers come in and tell me about God, King James wrote black man and all, I want to be able to give an answer. And I can give an answer to everything because I put my mind and my heart who I am. I'm here to teach the word. That's why I'm here. I'm here to teach the kingdom, to tell men that God has created a country for us and we can take over the world. But men don't know that. We've been steeped in religion so long, and if religion is death. It put laws over your head. You saying that because you don't do certain things, but you do something.
Everybody do.
Everybody.
Dig in that closet.
Yes, sir. And as soon as you mess up, you the devil. But no, all of us the devil. But it's by the grace and mercy of the King. And so when I found the kingdom, Steve, it changed my life, brother. It just, I don't no need to go back to the world. I have no need. What I have to do, though, is spread love. That's my job. Any way I can spread love, man, that's the job. Like you doing now, Steve, you don't have to do this, brother. You get your brother love. I would have never got an opportunity to be on the podcast. You love me. And somebody going to hear something that we're saying tonight. It's going to change their life. That's what God calls us to do. Solutions, not problem. I'm not a victim anymore. I don't call myself a victim. Yes, I had some victim situation, but I'm a king. I'm a head. I'm above. I believe those things, Steve. And I believe that I'm here for one purpose. I ain't got too much long. I'm 62 now. So
no, you got a while.
I got the work to do, amen.
You got wild. You got a while. Your wife always said you got a while now.
No doubt. No question.
Yes, sir. And my job is, man, everybody that God puts in my presence, just show them love, man. You ain't got to beat them over the head with the Bible. You ain't got to do none of that. And when they ask for it, then give it to them. You ain't got to beat people over the head with scripture. Let people be where they are. If you don't believe that, you got a choice about that. I ain't going to argue with you about that, brother.
Come on.
And people forget that God blessed Abraham and Ishmael. They get all messed up, man. It's nothing wrong with Muslim, nothing wrong with the Christian. He blessed both. He gave both of them a blessing. And we fighting each other about, brother, that's not the fight. The fight is for us to take over the world. Stop letting these systems control us, and we control the system. And so they have taught us to be the world, but not a kingdom. And we are kingdom citizens. And once we realize who we are, Steve, then the fight stops, man. Now I'm trying to produce. I'm trying to make sure my children produce. I'm trying to manage this earth. I'm trying to be the best that we can be and teach management. That's what God created us to do.
Come on.
To manage the world. And sad to say, unfortunately, those of us, we've been taught religion, and religion only destroys people, man. Make people judge each other. The church never do anything. We never get to the place where we want to be because we're so busy fighting each other about who right and who wrong. I'm wrong sometimes, Steve.
I'm wrong a lot.
I'm dead wrong. You know
I'm wrong a lot.
Sometimes I'm
not
right.
wrong that often.
And I'm still struggling.
Listen. What black woman is wrong? I'm
Yeah, she's never wrong.
For real.
So, yeah, man.
But that is, listen, I can tell you what, man, that is, and looking at your story, and I wanted to talk about your story because you're talking about crack is one, we talked about the severity, it's a disease.
Yes, sir.
That's hard. So you still deal with that. So fundamentally, you still physically have to deal with that urge.
Yeah.
And you don't know what's can come in your life that can challenge that urge. But the fact that you're here and that your baseline is love got you out of that.
Yes, sir.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, sir.
See that the one weapon that he had, let's go back, let's circle it all back together. We talked about family, and we talked about that one component that God gave him to survive through all the habits that his father gave him. Now, look at your daughter. Now, what you guys are watching now is a generational curse passed down and all broken and cracked by you and completely going to be broken by your children.
Yes, sir.
Now, when she going to pass on to her children is a generational blessing.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yes.
But here's the caveat. The harvest is always harder to manage. Mm-hmm. See, your daddy did hard work. Now you have to do harder work because that managing a blessing, Keegan, now that he's out of it, the work don't stop.
But he's already talking about stewardship.
There you go.
See, most folks don't talk about stewardship.
Come on.
They talk about getting money.
Come on.
Securing the bag.
He ain't say none of that.
But he talk about stewardship. So yeah, she's going to already have it. So when she get the harvest, she's going to do with it.
Yes, sir.
She's going to do with it.
These are healthy black families. Yes, sir. This is what this is about. This isn't about, see, we know what the problems are. I'm glad you said that, Mr. Cat. That's why I see you the way I see you. Because, you know, when you go deep down in that valley, up here, you can do this.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
You can do this,
Easy work.
Yes, sir.
You can do this. What y'all complaining about?
Yes,
Right.
sir.
What y'all worried about? You don't complain. Oh, I don't know if I'm gonna be able to get this next month. When you don't know where your next meal coming from, and you've destroyed everything around you. See, what people don't understand is you hearing the story now, but his vision while he was in it, while he was actually living it, there was no way out.
No.
There was no way to figure it out, how to get out. You were just like, this is it. And then there ain't no bringing your son back. You probably thought ain't no fixing your family at this point. You disappointed your daughter. But guess what? The main thing, before we go, the main thing that held you together, what we talked about at the beginning, family.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Because let's talk for this. We got a little bit more time. If it wasn't for your wife, you would be on the headstone right now.
Yes, sir.
Facts.
Well, let me. Can I?
Go ahead.
Hold on. Wait a minute. No, she didn't do it. No, I can't give her that credit.
Oh, hold on. Before you say this,
Well, he's going to the source.
do you need to ride home?
He's going.
You got it. This is not good. You.
It's shaky. It's getting shaky.
Yeah.
But he's going to the source.
Yes,
He's going
you
to
gotta
the
go to the
source.
source.
He's going to the source.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
She didn't do it, Steve. Until I got to the place, realized that it couldn't nobody help me. Ooh. Not even me. I had to dig deeper for something bigger than myself. And I made a commitment I didn't care about. Excuse me, no disrespect. It has to get to this place for the addict. Until he get to the place, it's not about anybody. He can't help anybody anyway. If I keep using it, I'm not going to do anything. They're going to throw me out anyway, okay? It became about me. I had to find me. I didn't know me. All the things I was doing, Steve, because I didn't know me. I was trying to be something that I didn't know what I was trying to be. And I've met myself. When I put her to the side, I put Eminem to the side, I put everybody to the side. I said, I need to check me out. And I found out, man, I started searching my life. I started talking to God. I talked to God. That's who I talked to. I talked to the scriptures. I didn't talk to nobody. I didn't need nobody to explain it to me. I talked to God. And God spoke to me. It spoke to me. And then I started loving myself.
Come on.
And I'll tell you what happened for me. I went to treatment, and I became the preacher over the preacher. They came to me because I was teaching love. They was teaching law. And so I became the secret preacher. God showed me in the midst of my madness that I'm still going to use you, boy.
Amen.
That's good.
And so when I found me, then I could love her. Because, see, I didn't go in there to get her back. I went in there because I had no choice. I ain't had nowhere to go. Matter of fact, I had nowhere to lay my head.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
And then when I found me, I learned to love her like I'm supposed to love her. What I mean by that is my job is to take care of my wife and my family. Don't you do anything to hurt that. So don't be selfish. Stop because you want to get high. No, don't do that. That's what keeps me from getting high, Steve. Family.
That's good.
Love.
That's good.
That conquers a multitude of sin. That's what
It
it does.
does.
Yes, sir.
It covers.
Yes, sir.
It holds no right or wrong.
Yes, sir.
It holds no records of wrong. And that's what I'm trying to get people to see. Like, listen, we've done a great job with analyzing everybody's sin. We've done a fantastic job with telling everybody just how wrong they are, just how just gracious you are, and how your vernacular is so well, and how you can do everything great. But at some point, you're going to need somebody to forgive you.
Yes, sir.
No question.
Yes, sir.
Everybody's life in this room at some point going to go off the rails.
Yes, sir.
And you're going to need somebody to look at you and say, I love you, boy. I love you, girl. I love you, woman. I love you, man. You're going to need that.
Yes, sir.
This is what God created the family for.
Now let me put her there.
Now,
That's when she came in. Now
you didn't go there.
You remember what I said?
Uber was in Fuji.
Uber, you gonna be Uber back to Greenwood.
Yeah.
I'll be honest with you, Pastor. You gonna be my couch.
See, she know the story because Steve, you remember what I said? She told me when she put me out, I love you. But if you're gonna live like this, you can't stay here.
Come on.
That's what I remember when I got my head back on. She loved me.
A godly woman will always put the well-being of what God intended the family to be over your foolishness.
Yes, sir.
That's what men need to realize. God, that's why God created
Thank
the
God.
woman for us to be our eyes and ears because we know men are foolish.
Yes, sir.
We do foolish stuff. We primitive in a way. Women are evolved in a way that I can't even explain. I don't understand a woman. I still don't. No. And I don't think I ever will. But the grace that they have inside of them it is something to behold, to watch them raise children, to watch. And that's a beautiful thing. Like, think about it. She's a queen. Like, to get to this status right here, ladies, men, to get to this status, 47 years, she's a queen. She's not she ain't asking, Mr. Kennedy is at attention.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Let me be clear about that.
Yes, sir.
He is at attention right now.
No question.
And when you get, and she labored for that. She wasn't dumb. She wasn't stupid, or she didn't have low self-esteem.
No, sir.
She had what we all, grace and love. Now she kicked you out.
Yes,
Look,
sir.
she just let you stay there.
Yes, sir.
So we got to tell the whole story. Man, it's been a wonderful podcast.
Yes, sir.
Can I make a point?
You absolutely, because you had a point to make. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. So you said that you hope somebody sees and gets something. Well, one person did it, was me, and I'll tell you what happened. Earlier, you was talking about nature and nurture for your dad, and you didn't understand why he was where he was at.
Yeah.
But you loved him because he probably didn't know where he was at. I have struggled all my life trying to understand that with my own father.
Ooh.
He died in jail, and I never kind of understood why he was in jail until you made that point about something happened to him.
Yes.
That may make him actually get put in jail.
Yes.
And maybe I ain't in control, maybe I was in control. It doesn't matter. But I have to forgive him because I doubt he was in jail by choice.
That's right.
Nobody walks to the jailhouse and say, hey, lock me up.
No.
Right? So I never thought about it from that perspective, that his nature or his nurture had him in a bad spot.
Yes, sir.
How
Never
were you
thought about
feeling?
that.
Let's talk about that for a second. We got a few minutes because that's good that you brought it up, and that's why I talked about. Look at what you got. How you're a 40-plus-year-old man.
45.
You look 30. You look 30 now with
I
that haircut.
appreciate that.
You looking good.
Well, let's be clear. If y'all say you have been on crack, you don't look like
You
it.
don't
I
look like
appreciate
it.
that,
You
brother.
don't.
Thank you.
Let's
Thank
be
you.
100, because I got some crackheads in my family.
Amen. We all do. Yes, sir.
Hey, they can use some help. You don't look like it. I'm just being honest about it.
But again, let's go back to the component they got when listen, when love comes out of you, when you love everybody, you tend to look like you act.
True.
Even in your inactions, even in the things that you can't control, even in your thorns, even in your because we all born in this, we're shaped in iniquity, born into sin. It's just when you're born, it's automatic. You didn't ask for none of this from your father. You didn't like, hey, father, leave me. You didn't say that. People didn't ask to be born in certain countries and be in poverty. Nobody asked to be this. I'm glad I'm black. I'm gonna be honest with you. I got the best out of it. I am so glad I'm black. That was a blessing.
Mm-hmm.
Now I see that it's a blessing. But nobody ever asked for a lot of these things. This is why we show grace. This is why we understand who we are as a people. This is why we stick together. With your father not being there, you found out you was able to get a nugget 40 plus years out of something. But this is why stories matter.
Yes, sir.
No question.
Yes, sir.
This is why people's stories truly matter, because people are sitting at home under the sound of everybody's voice in this room thinking, bruh, I'm one decision away and I'm pulling this trigger.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, sir. Believe that.
Absolutely. There's people who've been on crack, who on crack, not even just crack, but addicted to something. Because addiction is a spirit. So it doesn't matter what apparatus it uses. It doesn't matter what tool it uses to keep you addicted. Yours just happen to be crack. But see, mine can be obesity. Mine can be laziness.
It can be gambling.
Slothfulness.
It can be alcohol.
See, those are the things that's what we got to evolve to now. We got to start looking on the inside of each other. See, we know stuff like that. We can point it out because it's visible. We can see it. But Ebony, nobody can see your prideful. Your nature. I ain't saying you got pride. I'm just saying nobody can. Nobody can see that. Nobody sees that stuff. So it festers inside of you. Ebony, I want to go back to you because this is good. Tim, do we have a second? This is good. This is good. I don't want to stop. I think people can watch this. Ebony, why is it so hard for people to fix the inside of them? We know we need therapy, because strongholds are real. And we talk about this a lot. Why is it so hard for people to do the work on the inside?
Honestly, I think it's simple. Fixing it means facing it.
Yes.
And we
That's
don't.
exactly-
Hold on.
That's exactly
You're going
what
to
it
get
means.
applause for that one.
That's exactly what it means.
Did you say fixing it means elaborate on that?
I mean, whatever that crutch is, that demon, that addiction, like my daddy said, he had to go back to the root of who he was.
Come on.
So he had to address what brought him to the addiction. The addiction was just a side effect of the root cause.
Yeah.
So he had to go back to the root cause 9 treatment centers later to really heal. And we don't want to face what brought us to addiction or what brought us to obesity or whatever it is. We don't want to face those things. And so because we don't want to face them, we talk about people.
Yeah.
Ooh.
We criticize other people.
We project.
We project. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what we do.
Woo.
Yep.
Let me make you the bad guy, because as long as you're the bad guy, I don't have to look at my stuff.
Yes.
And so, I mean, that's just why we don't fix it, because we don't want to face it.
Kicking, you had to deal with some inside stuff. You've
No
dealt
question.
with it in your 47 years.
Yeah.
You've dealt with some inside things. And you ain't got to be specific, but what did that process look like for you dealing with some of the things that you actually dealt with in your life? And how did you address it? Because we talk about solutions, right?
Yeah.
We again, family solutions. We're getting to the solution. Like, what was the solution to one? You ain't got to divulge that, but what was the solution to something that you dealt with internally? Because that's what we do. We deal with things. That's the real fight.
Yeah.
The real fight wasn't crack. It was the fact that your daddy walked out on you, and crack came in as your father.
Sir.
Right.
Yes,
Yeah.
sir.
So I think I had the same issue where, cause I'm in therapy now.
That's good.
right?
Talk about it.
Because I realized that I don't have the answer.
Come on.
And to your point, nobody else around me did either. That's
right.
Had to bring in a professional.
That's right.
Right. So I'm in therapy, and I've been in therapy since 2018. And part of it was I got some anxiety issues and stuff like that. But so I had attacks,
That's good.
But
Not good. That's not good.
what? No, I'm with you.
I get what you're saying.
I'm with
No, go
you.
ahead.
But here's what happened. When I got in therapy, I realized, to your point, anxiety was only byproducts of a root cause back from my childhood.
Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah, man.
Come on, Kiki.
That, to your point,
Come on.
unaddressed
Yeah.
trauma. And once I actually addressed that trauma,
Yeah.
it went away.
Yeah.
Don't have attacks no more. Because I understand that there was things back in my life, my childhood, that drove anger, that drove resentment. I was walking around with luggage, Louis Vuitton bags, full of stuff.
Yes, sir.
Full of stuff that I never unpacked until I got into therapy. And I'm still unpacking to this day because I had so much stuff going on. You know my story, but I lost my mother when I was 15. She died. Dad died in jail before that, grandpa before that. So when you deal with that kind of loss at a young age, the streets raise you to some degree. You take on certain habits. Because you didn't deal with the trauma you had in your life, it festers, metastasizes, spreads, then it comes out in behavior. And that's where you cause damage.
Yes, sir.
And you typically damage those who are around you.
Yes, sir.
That's good.
Yes,
And that's
sir.
normally family and
Man,
friends.
that's good. Yes.
You don't hurt strangers.
Yes, sir.
They know where around you.
Yes,
Normally
sir.
family or friends. And so when I figured out that the issue wasn't in my today's Keegan, it was in yesteryear's Keegan, I knew where to go to fix the problem.
Yeah.
That's what therapy helped me figure out how to do.
Man.
So you had to fix it and face it.
Yes. Yeah. Because it was buried. It was deep.
Yes.
And like I said, since 2018, I've been in therapy.
And it takes, and that's the thing. Therapy it's not a trend. Like, take the trendy off the therapy thing.
Yes, sir.
It's trendy to talk about going to therapy.
Yeah.
But it's a grueling process.
Yes, sir.
It's a grueling
No,
process.
it's work. It's
sir.
real work. Now I'm at a point where I only go once a month now, but when I started, that was every week.
Yes, sir.
We moved to every 2 weeks because I was making progress, and I learned where the root causes were at. Now it's just a once a month thing to check in and do certain things with conversation, but it is work
Yes, sir.
to go inside, to look yourself in the mirror, get naked. I don't mean physically.
Yes, sir.
I mean spiritually. I mean intangibly. Get naked and start looking at the ugliness you have in you. That's just been sitting there. You've been actually behaving it out. You didn't know where it was coming from. You're like, yo, this ain't even me. Why am I even doing these things? It helped me personally.
And you could, and we ain't gonna talk about it, but you've been seeing the manifestation of you becoming a different person. You've been
think
seeing,
so.
you've
I
been
think so.
seeing that we know the wins. But let me say this about Black people too, because a lot of times, sometimes we get a bad rep because we don't go to therapy and things like that. But when so much has been taken away from you, it's hard to sit in front of somebody and let them strip you even further. Even if that stripping is helping you grow, you don't know the difference. Because think about it. You grew up in poverty. You lose everybody. It took you to how long to go to therapy?
It's 2018. I'm 45.
That's what I'm saying.
You know,
it took a long time. 9 treatment center because black folks we've been marginalized. We've been looked less upon so long that the little bit that we have, you ain't taking away from us. And for the men in this room, we know what it is: pride.
no question.
Oh yeah, no doubt.
But I'll say, Steve, it's not just stripping down. A good therapist helps you self-discover.
Come on.
Yeah.
Because see, that hour-long session
sir.
is nothing compared to the next 6 days you got to deal with the world by yourself.
That's good.
Right? So they help you self-discover where the issue is at, give you tools to utilize so you get out in the world and those triggers happen.
Come on.
That drive you to getting angry, that drive you to being prideful, drive you to doing drugs or gambling. Because I gamble, right? I don't gamble to a point where it hurts me, right? It's a release for me. But you don't have those triggers or they don't actually set you off, that's how you're making progress.
Right.
But they help you self-discover because they can't be with you the next 6 days.
And when you self-discover, that's where faith comes in.
No doubt.
That's where you have to trust God that the training that because God gave people gifts. We got to start recognizing, even in the church, we got to recognize that there are gifts out of the walls of the church. Doesn't make it bad. You need to go. You're a pastor. Let me ask you this question. You're a pastor. What do you believe about therapy versus, some of the ideas that we used to believe? We just have faith and pray and it'll go away.
No, Steve, see, you asking the wrong person because if it was not for therapy, we wouldn't be together nor would I be where I'm at because it was the therapist that made me look at myself and then and it was the therapist that made me see some good about myself and also see my bad. And then when I found out, okay, this is like Keegan's, well, this is where this is coming from. Now when the trigger comes, because I got a quick temper still today, I would blow up. I go from 0 to 100, okay? But therapy learned me how to pull the trigger back. It's coming, stop. Do what you're supposed to do. Because if you don't, you're going to jail. You still go to jail saved.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Listen, you the wrong shade.
Yes, sir.
I'll be honest with you.
Yes.
You're not the right shade.
Yeah, for real.
You gonna get them cuffs.
No doubt.
Yes, sir.
No doubt.
But that's just talking about like therapy. That is so pertinent because you said something that really triggered me. You don't just go to therapy to hear the bad things about yourself. No. You go there to be validated too as well. Yeah. Because Keegan, there's some extraordinary things about you that you kept pushing down because of the negative.
Yes, sir.
Ebony, listen, I want to come to you again. I'm so glad to have the first woman on the Deep Service podcast. Tim, are we talking good? We okay? Okay, as long as my producer, because we talking good right now. I just want to talk for a little bit because I want to have this is my family too as well.
No question.
And we talking about family. Ebony, what can therapy do for us as a culture? What is the collective therapy that we need as a conversation, for each other? Because this is a therapy session, so to speak. But as a collective, what is the therapy session we need? What do we need to start putting out into the world? Because, there is Mr. Kennedy's out there in that situation. And the fact of the matter is, and here's the realistic piece to it, everybody won't make it out.
That's right.
You better be honest. You better understand you're blessed. Yes, sir. Never forget that. Yes, sir. Because the difference between you making it out is God's decision. And that's it ain't that you did nothing good.
Amen.
True.
That's right.
It ain't that you did nothing good. What is the collective conversation about therapy as a culture that we need to be having?
I think, if someone hands me a book right now and it's in Spanish, when I put that book down, I can't tell you anything that it said because I don't speak Spanish. I speak English. So what therapy does is teaches us the language of ourselves.
That's true.
That's good.
And of other people.
That's good.
So when I see something in you, Steve, let's say you're angry, I can give you grace because I understand the language of who you are. There's something in your pathology that allowed you to be that way. So instead of me lashing out back at you, therapy will allow me to understand there's something going on with him that it's not about me, that I don't have to take personal. And give you grace and mercy in that situation.
Come on.
And in reverse, it gives me that language for myself. Some black people are super intelligent, like my mom, And she was smart enough to put me in therapy. When my brother passed away, my father had relapsed. She put me and Evander. She put me, because of Evander, in therapy. And I wasn't doing a lot of crying or, showing a lot of emotion. And I felt bad about it. I was like, I'm supposed to have this outburst of tears and crying. And she said, it's okay. You're just an introvert. You process your emotions differently. And I felt like after she told me that, I didn't need to go to therapy no more. Like, I'm done with you because you allowed me to understand something about myself. Yeah. You're just more of an introvert person. You process things differently. And so that was my language that I would not have learned had it not been from her. And, throughout the years, I feel like my family, we've experienced a lot of death and, on both sides. And when I wasn't, falling on the ground crying like other people, I had grace and mercy for them to be able to comfort them and still understand I'm internalizing my emotions in a different way. So therapy at large just allows us to understand the language of each other and ourselves.
Yeah, that's true.
And I think with people, and let me piggyback on that, because introverts and people who process on the inside help people who process on the outside and let them know it's going to be okay. Because when I don't see you going crazy, I know that the world is not going to end tomorrow because a big tragedy happened.
We can't all be hysterical.
We cannot. And that's what Ebony's helped me about. Because when I go to Ebony, I know that, she's not going to be breaking down in tears and doing all that, but she's going to give me sound doctrine, sound advice. That's what love is.
No
People
question.
give you what you need to hear for the moment. And that's what's happened. So let's expand upon family. See, God set up your family with blood, but there's an extended family too as well. There's people who ain't got your blood, who become your family, who become people you can lean on. You can trust. Those are the people you choose. We call them friends. We call them friends. You better have somebody that you got that you can stick close to, because I guarantee you, when your wife kicked you out, old Bubba, your old crackhead friend Bubba. Listen. Yes, he had a cheeseburger with you, didn't he? When you actually spent the money on going to McDonald's.
Hey, Steve, what point about that? Because I think you made a great point, and where you're going with family, as it relates to therapy.
Come on.
We had a discussion about this via text. Therapy is one tool that we have in our toolkit, right, or a tool belt. But each other is also a tool that we don't use. So we're talking about Busta Rhymes.
Yes.
His interview on Drink Champs. He made a great point about we don't share our vulnerability because we know it will be used against us.
It's good.
So now I can't say, Ebony, I need to talk to you about something. I need to get something out of my system. Can you sit down with me and talk? We don't do that. That will also be something that can help us as a culture. We can just talk to one another. Be our brother's keeper.
Yes, sir.
Because sometimes just talking to somebody pulls you from the ledge.
It does.
It's getting out your system. Somebody listen to you, give you grace, and then they can validate. Say, you know what, guy? You're better than that. You know what, sis? No, you can rise above that. Let me tell you how. Let me see if I can help you. Now we start talking about the church.
Come on.
Being the church.
Come on.
Not the brick and mortar building.
No.
But being out in the street, helping each other.
That's the church.
So I'll say that's the next tool we got to have is helping each other through therapeutic conversations, because we have trust in one another. I can go to this man talking about anything in my household. I know I trust him to actually have my back. Tell me truth. Say, "Kid, you're wrong." I need that sometimes too. I'm gonna keep you're wrong.
Yes, sir.
Right. So that's the next thing we got to talk about and have is a brotherhood and a sisterhood amongst each other. You can be transparent with each other.
Absolutely.
You can do that because not all the time it requires that third party in the office with a couch. Your man can talk to you about some things if you let him.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
If you be there for him.
Yes,
And when you let it fester.
Yeah.
Then you have to skip past it. I gotta skip past it, and now I gotta go sit down and talk to somebody professional because I gotta let that pride go.
That's sweet.
I gotta let it go. Listen. I messed up. When I started talking, my life started walking in the right direction.
Man.
When I started, then it became I got to a place to where now I started understanding that peace was the commodity. Peace was what I needed because I felt that peace when I let it out. When you let something out, the change doesn't always happen. Meaning that your circumstances ain't gonna change right away. So God ain't magic. It ain't happening like that. You got to do the work. You let it out first, then you get that breath of fresh air. You can breathe now. Now you know where it's coming from, and do the work.
You're right. I would say, because I didn't see change rapidly, but I can tell you, I got lighter.
Yes.
When I put that luggage down,
Yeah, man.
I started walking lighter.
Absolutely.
Yes,
Hey,
sir.
things started changing with me as
Yes,
far as
sir.
how I walk, because now I wasn't so heavy. There was no more chains. There was no more shackles.
And because God doesn't work with mannequins. He
True.
works with people who do the work.
True.
And I'm going to ask you a question. Did y'all feel that? Who was talking? Mm-hmm. That's what love does, man. When now I feel like I see, but I feel like if I need Keegan, I feel like I can talk to him.
You can.
Because I just felt him.
You can.
I felt you.
That's good.
You know what I'm saying? That's all we got to do is sit down and have a conversation. Look, we ain't got to agree on everything, man. Just let me be where I'm at, you be where you at.
No
we
doubt.
say, okay, we ain't going to agree on that part, but hey, it's cool. We can talk.
Commonality and disagreements.
My friends totally disagree. My best friend is not a religious man. He's not. He's my boy, though.
Yeah.
He's my boy.
Come
because
on.
we sit down and chat. I let him be where he at. He let me be where I'm at.
Yeah.
And we don't fight each other about what we believe. Let him grow. I'm going to let him grow in his own place. He let me be where I'm at.
Yeah.
And when he need me, then I give it to him, Steve. I give him the truth. Okay? Then I let him be where he's at. And that's the problem that we have. We don't have a conversation with people who don't believe like we believe. And because we don't have that conversation, sit down and just be friends. Steve, I can be friends with you because we don't believe the same thing.
Absolutely.
None of us believe the same
I
thing.
can love you past the Cowboys.
Yes, sir.
I can love you past the Cowboys. I'm a Giants fan, by the way. I'm telling you, so I can love you past the Cowboys. No question. No question.
And that makes the difference. The love, man.
It does.
Yes, sir. Like we doing now. If more of us could just sit down and say, man, look, let's talk. And once I find out that you care about me, Steve, man, it changed the world for me,
Changes
man.
the world.
Christ was planting seeds of love every step of the way when he was here. This podcast was beautiful. And this was even, man, this has been wonderful.
It has been.
This has been absolutely wonderful because, and I'm going back to talk about Christ planting the seeds of love. Everything he did, it didn't matter what the transgression was. He pointed to love.
No question.
He looked at the person. He ain't look all your faults, air coming at him, all the stuff you got going on. He looked right at you. That's what we need. That's what we're doing for people. We're looking at who God called them to be, not who they became via the world.
No doubt.
Via the fact that sin always going to be in the world.
Oh, yeah.
This is why I'm glad and he's a pastor, by the way. And I probably heard that through his words and his energy. But when I look at a pastor, and because I've had my issues with the church, when I look at you, I have the utmost respect for your value system. That's important. What you value is love. Because see, that doesn't mean that everything you don't have a system where you believe that we need to be doing this way and things that lead to wrong. We don't but we love you.
Yes.
And when you got that ability, you let God do the work. Let God do the deciding what's right and wrong. You just be the person that love him. You're a soldier, my guy. You do that well, and it's refreshing to see that conversation happen. Man, it's been a great conversation, Keegan.
And Steven, you asked a question. The first question you asked me was, why did God create the family in the order that he did? Look at 3 folks you got in front of you. That should tell you the answer right there.
That's facts.
right.
That's facts.
47 years of union through difficult times, and they reproduce a queen. That's why he did it.
Yes, sir.
I can tell you right now, I got a front row seat to their life.
Amen.
And it ain't none of it perfect. But the way they handle it, I can validate this on camera without lying, without conjecture, without a whole bunch of making up stuff. It is what he's saying is what he does. That's all you can ask for. All the deep sayings, all the deep words, those are good. But when you got a man who does what he say he's gonna do,
Who blocks and
the
tackles.
world gets a little bit better. This is what heroism is about in our community. Mr. Kennedy, I want to thank you for coming.
Yes, sir.
Steve, thank you.
I appreciate you.
Yes, sir.
Ebony, I want to thank you for coming in. Keegan.
Yes, man.
Like always, man. And guess what, guys? The Deep Surface Pod on Instagram, the Deep Surface Pod on YouTube. Subscribe.
Like
we
and
write.
share.
Absolutely. And we write our story. We out.
Amen. Peace.
Yeah.